Welcome to Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Christian Strang, but you can call me Christian. And today we are sharing with you your oracle reading for March 2022. This sets the tone for your March experience. We encourage you and invite you to really allow yourself to go into the receiving mode as I share this transmission of the light from Mary Magdalene, the highest light, Yeshua, and of course, Source herself. Really allowing yourself to feel the frequency and allow insights and next steps and ahas to come to you as you receive this transmission of the light to support you in having the absolute best March 2022 that you can have. And with all that's happening in your personal experience and in the collective experience, it's so important that you keep your focus on what you do want to create and what you do want to experience. Because how is the collective created? It's created with millions, billions of individual humans. So the more your focus is on how you can create your best possible experience, and the more of us that are focused there, how am I part of the solution? How do I create in the light? How do I be of true service and a true vehicle for the divine to move through me? How do I allow myself to create more joy and love and peace and prosperity on this earth? The number one answer to that question is you create it in your own life. And then when we have, quote unquote, individual humans, millions and billions of us doing that, then we have a collective that is loving each other and is in a state of peace and harmony. And we're living in the golden age when that happens. So everything you do matters. And we're going to get into that. Of course, your transmission, your oracle reading for this month of March touches on this. I ask, as I always do at the start of every month, what is my community, those who are listening to this transmission, those who will be magnetized to this transmission, what do they most need to know? What do they most need to hear? What do they most need to remember so that they can have the absolute best experience they can possibly have in this month of March? And I was guided to our oracle, Radical Abundance and Radical Times, and these are truly radical times, and flipped right to this extraordinary transmission that I'm about to share with you. So as long as you're not driving and you're not anywhere where you need to have your eyes open, go ahead and close your eyes, allow yourself to go into that receiving mode and just see this frequency that's coming through here can bring to you all sorts of solutions for your personal experience, insights, epiphanies, ahas. So just see what pings for you and what begins to bubble up as we share these words and this frequency and this transmission with you. We want you to know you are so worthy, you would never chase anything again. You wake up each day understanding so deeply that this day is a gift, a supreme gift, and that whatever takes place during your holy day that you're in a body is meant for you. And it is meant for you to love it, to rise above the negativity if any appears, and to allow yourself to soak up in pure enjoyment of whatever it is that's before you. It all matters because you matter. And when we say it all matters, we mean every moment you are in a body matters. Every moment you're not in a body matters too, but more on that in the future. Every moment you have here is worthy of you. Now we know you're going to say, well, what about that moment where I'm screaming at someone I love or they're screaming at me? Or what about that moment when I open my device and there's terrible news on it? And don't you see? We are encouraging you to be in love with that moment too. Because if it's in your world and if it's affecting you, it is for your loving of it, for your rising up out of the wounds of it, and for you to be with it without trying desperately to change it or to make it different. We gave to Christian quite recently what we will give to you now. Your entanglement with what is happening in your personal and collective world and your belief that you must be involved, so very involved with what is happening out there in the world, is what holds you back from your enlightenment. When you want it to change so desperately and you are looking outside of yourself and outside of the divine for the answers and the solutions, that is what begins to energetically, or what you would call psychically, entangle you. And once that happens, that negative energy begins to bleed into your field and bleed into your thought forms and affect you. You giving your attention and energy to the distortions is what it needs to stay alive. And it is how it's been able to stay alive throughout the dark age you've been living in. It needs you and others focus there so that it can thrive. When you are participating in the systems as they now are, and as you now know them to be, you are saying, this is okay by me. This is okay for you to do this to me and to others. And this is, of course, not the truth. Now we know that this understanding will make you want to jump right out of all the matrices you see. And there are many physical-only matrices that you can easily depart from. And there are others that will take more time and care, for they may be a tangled mess, for lack of a more eloquent way to state it. But what we want you to know in this now moment is that you have entered the time and space where your participation only fuels the madness. It only fuels the distortion. It only says, yes, I am for that, whether you are physically stating that or not. The fear, because you and all humans are so insecure, and the fear that gets played on repeatedly is that if I don't, and more specifically if you don't participate in this, it will only get worse, and then it will be terrible for everyone. And we say, why not now test that hypothesis? Because you've been involved, you've been fighting, you've been trying to change it. You've been participating for fear that if you did not, it would all fall apart. And guess what? Guess what's happened? It only gets worse and more abusive and more distorted by the year. It also, as some of you might have noticed, loops around the same tragedies over and over again. We showed this to Christian recently. We invite you, if you feel the call, to start tracking what it is that's put out there as terrible things happening. Start to see it. There's a pattern, dear one. A pattern of fear and violence used over and over and over again. Get curious. Whatever could be going on here? Only the love of the divine is real. Only your enlightenment into who you really are and living a fulfilling life in love and community and family and joy and prosperity is what matters. And why does that even matter, you might wonder? It matters because your soul is here to live in a body in peace. Why, yes, there will be heart-opening excitement, a new love, a new soul, a new creation, a new oasis. There are so many ways you can up-level and enjoy the experience of your life without drama and strife and pain. You are simply not well practiced at that, as most humans are addicted to the negative cycles. You and most are simply more practiced in pain and agony and woundedness and terrible things happening. So now, you're beginning to practice creating more and more of the other, embodying your secure enoughness and being present with whatever comes without attachment to making it change or making it different. Your only attachment is to the divine within you, within your sacred heart, and with the divine all around you. When you live in this way, day by day, step by step, you will do so, and then you will one day wake up to realize that you are now in the golden age. So we want you to test this hypothesis in this month of March. And don't participate. Don't talk about it. Don't give it your attention. Don't give it your energy if it is not of the light of source. Drop away from any matrices run by the hijacked agenda that you feel called to. We really want you to play with this for this month of March. What happens if you just don't participate in the drama? You don't speak to it. You don't focus there. You keep your sole focus on how to create your own heaven on earth in your current life experience. You focus on creating what we might call the next golden age, heaven on earth, new reality, whatever term you want to use in your own experience. How can you create from the joy in your heart? How can you be of true benefit to this earth? How can you love more fully those in your experience? How can you honor the earth in your experience? How can you laugh every single day, a true full belly laugh? How can you release your limitations, your fears, your traumas, your wounds, so that you can be more of the divine human that you are? What if you made the month of March about that, and you did not allow yourself to get entangled in anyone's personal drama or the collective drama? Because as it's shared in the transmission, and as we've been talking about since 2020, your fear state, your fight or flight response emits an energy. It's a frequency, just like everything. And that frequency is fed off of by the lower vibrations that exist here on earth. And I won't go too far down the rabbit hole into all that entails. But that's just the basic facts. I know facts is a loaded word these days, but that's the dealio here. So if you're not in an anxious state, if you're not in a fear state, if you're not in a fight or flight state, if you consciously move yourself into parasympathetic dominance, which is a peaceful, restful state, if you consciously, for the month of March, so just play with it, right? That's all we're inviting you to do. For the month of March, just play with it. I'm going to be in a parasympathetic state. I'm going to be in a rest and digest state. And I'm not going to take in anything that would try to have me be in a fear state or a fight or flight state or an anxious state. I'm not going to go there. Just for the month of March, I'm not going to go there. And I'm just going to focus on creating from my true pure essence and loving from my true pure essence. What happens then? How many humans do we need to do this for there to be that next tipping point? We keep shifting into the next new paradigms, and this is part of the 2-2-2. Did I get all the twos? Shift that took place in February. So what happens when you do not make your fear available to the lower, or I can say that better, the disconnected from source beings and frequencies that wish to feed off of your fear, your anxiety, which is why it's just an onslaught of fear and drama and bad things happening, because you need to be in that state for it to exist. So hijacked agenda doesn't exist unless you're in that frequency, and it can feed off of you. And the more and more and more and more of us that simply refuse to be in that frequency and to only hold the frequency of the light, of which, I can say that even more clearly, which is the frequency of love, of unconditional divine love. And it is in practice in your current life experience. It's not enough to just talk about it. You have to take action, bring it into your life experience. And the most loving thing, the most unconditionally loving, the purest act of self-love that you can give yourself is to show up for every emotion, every sensation, whatever it is that's coming up for you, and to heal it. I can say that better. To allow it to be present, which allows it to dissolve, which allows it to no longer be sitting in your connective tissue and in your cells. There are all kinds of self-healing tools. You don't even have to go get a bunch of sessions for this to happen, right? We created the Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers guide because we wanted you to have, it's a 4-step healing process that allows you to show up for whatever is happening within you and allowing it to transmute back to what it truly is and what it's most meant to be, which is divine love. So play with this. Really I won't even go deeper there with you. I invite you into committing to this for the month of March. For the month of March, I'm not going to speak to the drama personally or collectively. I'm not going to participate in it. I'm going to keep my focus on bringing the light to others. Whether it's superfoods or healing in some other format or whatever it might be, whatever gift you're called to give, whatever love you can give to as many of those around you, do so. And refuse to be one who is in fear or fight or flight or anxiety or belief and worry of disease or death or even the end of the world. Just allowing yourself to step into your empowered state of as a divinely loving being of the light. So that is our invitation to you for this month of March. That's your March Oracle reading. Thank you so much for being here and listening and being part of this lit conversation, because the more we go here, where we went today, and the more of us are focused here, the better and better and better and better and better it gets. It just keeps getting better. Just keeps getting deeper. It just keeps getting richer. It just keeps getting more expansive. It just keeps getting more amazing when you do what we're talking about here today. So if this podcast episode was of benefit to you today, please share it with one other soul that you know who is ready for this level of light in their own life. And you can check us out and receive a free Sacred Love transmission from Mary Magdalene. You can also receive a free Golden Age visualization meditation on the homepage of our website, sacred-spirituality.org. May this be of true benefit to you. May the highest light of Source be with you. And so it is. It is.